Welcome to the Influential Motherhood podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Duncan, and my dream is to inspire moms to pursue their goals and help them make a difference in their world. I'm a mom of 2 young boys, a wife to my high school sweetheart, and a lawyer. This show is a place to hear stories of moms working hard to have a positive influence in their profession or their community, and sometimes both, even as they juggle their responsibilities at work, at home, and to their children. You'll get tangible, practical tips for managing the chaotic world of motherhood and work. Come along as we hear these stories and feel inspired to step outside of our comfort zone as leaders and as a positive force within our communities. I believe that moms can change the world. Hey friends, it is hard to believe we're at episode 20 of Influential Motherhood. I'm really excited about this episode because this is a little bit of a different format than what I've normally done. So most of my episodes thus far, in fact, I think all but the trailer, have been interview style where I have sat down with a mom who is making a difference in her community or profession. But this time around, I am doing this episode in response to something some folks have been asking me for. And that is an Ask Me Anything type of episode where I share a bit of my own working mom tips and challenges. And so I've been taking some questions on Instagram for a couple of weeks, and I wanted to answer the ones that came in to celebrate my 20th episode. For those of you who have been supporting the podcast by listening and sharing and talking about it online or with your friends in person or with your colleagues at work, I just want to say thank you so much. This has been a tremendous amount of fun, and it's just an honor to be able to share the stories of the moms who are willing to come on the show and talk about their challenges and their tips and their hacks and their faith. And this has just been a really great experience. So the first question number 1, is how do you do it all? And so I kind of laugh when I hear this question because first of all, I don't do it all. Absolutely not. I have to give my husband credit because I have a very supportive husband who cooks the meals and goes to the grocery store. So basically, I don't have to think about meals. And I know that I'm very lucky, and I'm really thankful for that. And I'm thankful for him that is something that he is willing to do. I have to say that I think maybe part of the reason he does it is because he knows that I can't cook, and that if it were left up to me, we would probably eat cereal for like 90% of our meals. But we don't because he cooks. And so that is something that I don't have on my plate. Haha, pun intended. But anyway, very practically though, and to be a little bit more serious, here are a few ways that I keep things moving around here in our house. So we do meal plan. That is, I guess, the part of the meals that I contribute to is planning them. And we share a Wonderlist. So there's an app called Wonderlist, and we share a list. And so we put all of our meals in there, and we go grocery shopping typically once a week. I do all of the laundry during the weekend. So basically from the moment I wake up on Saturday morning, I am just rolling loads of laundry through. Now, I will say that I do kind of put myself in a little bit of a challenging situation when we are out of town for the weekend. But that I work around that. We also have a cleaning person who comes every 2 weeks. And again, that is something that I know we are very lucky to have, and I'm very thankful for it because I know that's something that not all families are able to do. But it's a choice that we've made, and I'm thankful that I even have that choice to be able to make, and that I have the resources to do that. So that is very helpful. As far as the question around, how do you have time to work and work out and take care of your kids and do a podcast? These are all questions I get a lot. I will say that for me, it's about priorities, and I'm not passing any judgment about what other people's priorities are. But for me, what's important is being with my kids and getting my job done, and then working out and getting the podcast done. So I don't really watch a lot of TV. At night, I'm usually either working out, working on my email, trying to, catch up on anything I missed work-wise, just from the chaos of the day, or recording a podcast episode, or otherwise working on podcast-related tasks. So if I'm doing none of those things, then I'm probably asleep on the couch. So typically, my routine at night is to put the kids in bed and then immediately change into my workout clothes. It's like, do not pass go, do not collect $200, do not sit down on the couch, do not sit down anywhere else, because the moment I sit down, I know that I will fall asleep or I'll get distracted by something else. So I change into my workout clothes and I immediately walk straight down to the basement and get on the bike. So my workouts are late. But it's what works for me. I have tried to work out in the mornings and I'm not a fan. So I do it at night. I also don't try to keep a clean house during the week. So if you ever try to surprise us with a visit during the week, just prepare yourself that we are going to have a messy house, because I try to give myself and my family some grace around that. I also try to do all errands on the weekend. But if I do miss any, then I try to squeeze them in during my lunch break at work. But that is not terribly common that I have to do that. And then lastly, I have a planner that I love that keeps me on track. I tried a different kind of planner at the beginning of this year. I can't remember what it's called now, but I have since switched over to a plum paper planner, which is what I used last year in 2018. And I'll do another blog post or episode about that, but I love my plum paper planner. So question number 2 is, what is your favorite mom hack? And I think this is a funny question that I get because I've asked my guest on the show this question. And this one is a little bit harder for me because I think what may have started as a, quote unquote hack has now just become how we do life around here these days. For me, I've heard so many great ideas while chatting with moms during episodes that has really been helpful for me. So if you haven't gone backwards and caught up on some earlier episodes, I have asked, I think, most of our guests this question. So this is something that you'll hear throughout. But for me, this is our hack. So I always try to have enough to get through the week without spending several nights washing. So whether it's bottles or bento boxes for school lunches, or socks or clothes for the boys or towels, I would rather buy a few extra than spend a ton of my time washing things during the week. So sometimes that means that our laundry pile is high during the week. Sometimes it means that our dirty sink is high during the week, and that's okay. I do run the dishwasher during the week, but it takes that pressure off of me having to clean every single night. So that has been something that, it's a place I'm willing to put a little bit of money in order to make my life easier during the week. And that was especially the case with bottles, and you have to wash all those parts. And so I have found that to be a tremendous help. Question number 3 is, do you miss being in private law practice or do you prefer being in higher education? So I did start out in private law practice with my husband, and after several years of that, I transitioned over to working in the law school setting. I don't teach. I actually work in an administrative role as an assistant dean, but I love it. And it gives me a chance to work with students and attorneys in the community. And I work for my alma mater, which is even better because it's a place that I know and love. I do miss law practice. I miss working with my husband. Believe it or not, we actually loved working together. And I miss the feeling of, helping my clients and making sure that they felt like they had an advocate and somebody in their corner, so to speak, in the legal system. But that being said, I really just feel like higher education is the place for me. So I don't miss it enough right now to go back. But I think I'm in the right place. Question number 4, do you still ice skate? So my mom had me on ice skates at 18 months old, which is unbelievable. I I think back to my kids at 18 months, and I have no idea how they would manage to be on ice skates at that age. I started competing in ice skating competitions around the age of 5, and I competed until around the age of 12. I have kept skating recreationally as life has allowed. After law school, I taught some local learn to skate classes, like for little kids it was kind of their first foray into ice skating. But I did stop that before my oldest child was born when I was pregnant. So unfortunately, I don't have the chance to go very often anymore. I don't live conveniently close to the ice skating rink around here. But when I do have the chance, I go and I love it and I miss it so much. So I miss it, but as far as do I still ice skate? Not very often, unfortunately. Question number 5, any tips for buying a Peloton bike? So I'm a huge fan of my Peloton bike. We bought our bike in October of 2017, and it has been life-changing for our family. I do have a few tips and answers to common questions I get. First would be that the bike itself is not typically on sale. Once or twice a year, they do have a pretty good sale on the accessories, but if you want the bike, I would not wait for a big sale. I don't think that you actually need to buy the accessories package. I think you can get what you need. For example, I did buy the Peloton shoes, but we got a mat for the bike to sit on off of Amazon, and I think I bought little 3-pound weights at Walmart or Target. Damon got his shoes at REI, so you can do either or. But all of that being said, if you are going to buy a bike, I do have a referral code that you can use, and you get, I think, $100 off of accessories when you purchase your bike. So if you're thinking about buying a bike and you want to get the accessories package or a pair of shoes, because I think it would cover the cost of the shoes, then just email me for my referral code. You can email me at melissa@influentialmotherhood.com, and I'll send you my referral code. Question number 6, how do you get your guests? I get this question a lot, and I think it's kind of funny because I guess I've had a few guests that are perhaps surprisingly larger, I don't know, like more well-known, I guess. I will say some of them I've known. So a few of them I went to high school with or college with and have some personal connections. So as we like to say, sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. But in addition to that, honestly, I just email people that I would like to chat with about motherhood and work and their dreams and faith and their story. And so I keep kind of a running list of people who I just would really love to sit down and have a chat with. And so I do get a lot of no's. I don't take those personally. And I think that's really important when you're doing something like this. I also get a lot of non-responses. So there's a lot of times where my email just seems to go into the abyss and there's no response. I also do not take that personally, but I leave that person on my list as they didn't say no and they didn't say yes. So it's kind of a follow-up later in my mind. But, then I get the yeses that are really fun and inspiring and that I know that you all would want to hear from. So I just keep going and I keep emailing and I keep recording and I just, it's like one foot in front of the other. I do try to make things as easy as possible for guests. Lots of clear directions about the interview process and the recording process. And I have been told by some folks that have been on multiple podcasts that is very helpful for them. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast, just think about ways to make it as easy as possible on your guest. Question number 7, and this is the last question for this Q&A episode, is how did I learn to start a podcast? So honestly, Google is my best friend, and so are Facebook groups. I did spend about 6 months planning and learning about podcasting. I joined a few podcasting Facebook groups. There's a group called She Podcasts, like for women, SHE podcasts. And I just did a ton of research. So somebody would say something in the podcast group, and then I would search the group for more posts about that topic. And if I still couldn't learn what they were talking about, then I would go to Google. So I did this for about 6 months of just, there was no podcast. I was just learning. Podcasting does seem overwhelming at first, I think. But I think when you really start reading and researching and learning, you realize it is not that difficult. And it's mostly a matter of streamlining and developing a good process. I will tell you, I started from a point of, I literally do not understand how the audio from your episode goes from your computer where you've recorded it. I could understand that much, but it goes from your computer to iTunes or Apple Podcasts and someone's phone. I had no idea how that was even possible. But once I started reading and learning, then I understood it. So I'm happy to help. I've helped several folks already. If you have questions about how to start a podcast, please let me know. It's not something you should have to struggle through on your own, and I'm happy to help. So that is the end of the questions for this Q&A episode. I just want to thank you all again for all of the support so far. I love when people message me saying that a particular episode has inspired them or really resonated with them because of, the fact that they might be going through some similar struggles, or they learned something, or they learned a new hack. I hope you're feeling inspired by the stories you're hearing on the show. I'm also sharing tips, tricks, and encouragement throughout the week, every week, over on social media. So you can find me at Influential Motherhood on Instagram and Facebook. So have a great week, friends. And next week, we are going to hear from Amy Williams from Custom Made Kid in episode 21. And she's going to tell us about her vision for starting a nonprofit that benefits families who want to adopt, and her own story of adoption and growing her family through both her heart and her tummy. So I really hope that you have a wonderful week, and thanks for tuning in, and let me know what you think about the questions. And if you have further questions, then feel free to send them over. Have a great week, friends. Thanks for tuning in for another inspiring episode of the Influential Motherhood podcast. Be sure to follow my own journey in motherhood and work at Melissa Duncan JD on Instagram, and follow the behind the scenes of the podcast at Influential Motherhood on Instagram and Facebook. If you're enjoying the Influential Motherhood podcast, please take a second to leave a rating or review in iTunes. It is how you can help other moms find the show so they can be inspired by these stories. See you next week.